Okay, this is your first Q&A time writing at 120 words per minute. Your proper names are Mrs. Farewell, Mark, Ellen Farewell, and Lynn Farewell. Ready? Mrs. Farwell, are you the paternal grandmother of Mark and Ellen Farwell?
Yes, sir.
Have you had the care of these children for the past 5 years?
Yes, sir.
How old was Mark when you first got him?
He was 3 years old.
And how old was Ellen?
She was just a year old.
Sometime prior to your getting the children, did your son and his then wife separate?
Yes, sir.
At that time, did you get custody of the children?
No. His wife went home to her mother and father with the 2 children.
How long after your son and his wife separated did you get the children?
I think it was about 2 months later that I got Mark.
When did you get Ellen?
It was about 6 weeks later.
Except for short periods, have the 2 children lived with you since that time?
Positively.
Since the children came to live with you, have you been at home all the time?
Yes, sir. I gave up my business in order to take care of them.
What kind of business did you have?
I had a gift shop.
Has Lynn Farwell had either one of the children since that time?
She had Ellen after the divorce.
How long did she have her?
About 3 weeks.
Mrs. Farwell, during the time you have had the children, has your son contributed to their support?
Yes, sir.
How much is he contributing at this time?
$300 a month.
Do you own your home in conjunction with your husband?
No, the home is in my name.
It's in your name only?
Yes, sir.
Who lives in the house at this time?
My husband, my daughter, and myself.
And the 2 children?
Yes.
Mrs. Farwell, have you enrolled the children in school?
Yes.
What grade are they in?
Mark is in 3rd grade and Ellen is in 1st grade.
During the time they have been with you, you have taken care of them?
Positively.
When they were ill, you took care of them?
Yes, sir.
And you prepared their meals?
Yes, sir.
Has Lynn Farwell ever attempted to take both children up until the present time?
She generally takes the 2 of them on Saturday.
Has she ever made any attempt to provide a home for the children up until now?
No, sir.
Do you want the children to continue living with you?
Certainly. I have taken care of them since they were babies. It would be a shame to disrupt their lives at this time.
What does your husband do?
He's a tool and die maker.
And what does your daughter do?
She is a bank teller.
Mrs. Farwell, did you ever tell Lynn Farwell that when she married again, you would let her have the children and not before?
Yes, I did tell her that.
Did you mean it?
I meant it from the bottom of my heart.
In other words, you want Lynn Farwell to remarry before you will give up the children. Is that correct?
I didn't say that. I said that if the day ever comes when she meets a respectable man and marries him, she could have her 2 children.
Wasn't it agreed before the divorce that the children were to stay with you and that your son was to pay you the sum of $400 a month for their support.
Yes, that's right.
Wasn't that agreement made between your son, Lynn Farwell, and yourself?
What agreement?
That the two children were to stay with you in this it's spelled differently, so I don't know if you want to do it like that.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
It's Farwell. I need to change it.
Okay. This is your second Q&A time. Writing at 120 words per minute. Your proper names are Lynn Farwell, Mrs. Farwell, Lynn, and Dick Farr. Ready? That was the agreement under which you took the children. Is that correct?
I didn't take the children to make money on them. I took the children to put a good roof over their heads.
And you also took the $400 a month for their care.
I certainly did, because I was entitled to it.
You took the $400 a month. Is that correct?
I certainly did, because I was entitled to it.
You took the $400 a month until about 3 months ago. Is that right?
About 3.5 months ago.
Since then, you have been getting $300 a month. Is that right?
That's right.
Did you ever ask Lynn Farwell for any money for the children?
I did not. I never asked her for any money.
The reason you didn't ask her for money was because your son was to pay you. Is that correct?
My son thought it was his duty to pay for his children.
And that's what you understood.
Yes, that's what I understood.
Is that the reason you never asked Lynn Farwell for money?
That's right. But I gave her many a dollar when she came to my house and didn't have bus fare home.
Mrs. Farwell, when did your son remarry?
It was about 2 years ago.
And his wife is expecting a child?
Yes.
Is that the reason you reduced the monthly support payment?
Yes, it is.
There was never a weekend when these children stayed at your son's house?
No.
Have they ever visited your son's house?
No.
Does his wife come to visit the children at your house?
Once in a while.
Only when she comes with your son?
That's right.
Mrs. Farwell, did you ever object when Lynn Farwell came to visit the children?
Never.
Did you ever object to her taking the children and keeping them overnight?
The only time Lynn would take the children and keep them overnight was when her mother was on vacation.
And you had no objection?
I had no objection because her mother wasn't there to tell Lynn that she wanted the children.
You knew Lynn would take good care of them, didn't you?
I was always calling up to find out how they were.
But you had no objection when she kept them overnight. Is that right?
I did, to tell you the truth, since the accident.
Since when?
Since she had the automobile accident.
You subpoenaed the police records of that automobile accident, didn't you?
I did, in order to find out the address of Dick Farr.
You wanted to find out whether Lynn jumped or whether she was hurt. Wasn't that the reason?
No.
Did you read the police record of the accident?
I did not. I wasn't interested in it.
Did your attorney read it?
That's up to my attorney.
Did you see the police officer in court?
Not that I know of.
Mrs. Farwell, doesn't the police record show that as the result of a sudden stop, Lynn Farwell fell from the automobile and suffered a brain concussion?
I did not read the record. My son read the record, not me.
Whose idea was it to say that she jumped from a moving car?
It was her idea.
Her idea?
Yes, it was her idea.
Did she tell you that?
She didn't tell me. My grandchildren told me the night of the accident when they came home.
Do you question the grandchildren about the activities of their mother when they come home?
They were nervous.
This is your first Q&A time writing at 100 words per minute. Your proper names are Roy A. Kelly, Collins Avenue, Mr. Kelly, Jefferson Paper Company, River Road, Mr. Westfall, Mr. and Mrs. Bell, Ed Roberts, Mr. Roberts, Joan Hutton, General Loan Company, and Mr. Thomas. Ready? May we have your full name and address?
Roy A. Kelly, and I live at 6850 Collins Avenue.
Mr. Kelly, would you be good enough to keep your voice up so all of the jurors can hear you?
Yes, sir.
By the way, Mr. Kelly, are you married?
I am, sir.
And you live with your wife and family?
Yes, sir.
And where do you work?
I work for the Jefferson Paper Company on River Road.
What kind of work do you do?
I am a laborer.
Mr. Kelly, were you involved in an automobile accident on April 13, 1987?
That's right.
Did you go to see Mr. Westfall after you made out the accident report?
Yes, sir.
Did you ask him his name when you went to see him?
No, sir. I already knew his name.
Did you ask him to spell it?
No, sir. I had an identification on him.
When you took your notes, did you write his name on them?
Yes, sir, I did.
You made notes with regard to his statement, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Did you ask him to sign the statement?
Yes, I did.
Did he agree to sign it?
No, sir.
Was there anyone with you when you took the statement from Mr. Westfall?
Mr. and Mrs. Bell were there also.
What date was that?
The date on the statement is May 8 at 10 p.m. The day of the automobile accident was April 13.
Now, when you found him in the hospital room where you took his statement, did he have a cast on any part of him?
Yes.
Was he in a hospital bed?
Yes, sir.
When you took the statement, did you ask questions or did he tell you in narrative what happened?
I had to ask him some questions.
When you asked him questions, did you ask him in a leading way or not?
I don't remember.
You didn't suggest to him that this was the way the accident happened, did you?
No, sir.
Mr. Kelly, I am going to show you a photograph and ask you if you know this person.
Yes, sir.
Who is it?
That is Ed Roberts.
He works at the Jefferson Paper Company with you?
That's right.
Mr. Kelly, Do you remember when you met Mr. Roberts?
I think I have known him for 6 months now.
Would you state your full name and spell your last name for the court reporter?
Joan Hutton, Hutton.
Is it Miss or Mrs. Hutton?
Mrs. Hutton.
Are you employed, Mrs. Hutton?
No, not now.
When were you last employed?
About a month ago.
And what firm was that?
At the General Loan Company.
All right. How long did you work there?
Approximately 2 years.
Now, before that time, where were you employed?
I was with the Hart Agency.
What was the Hart Agency?
A personnel agency.
Who was the principal officer of the Hart Agency?
Mr. Thomas.
This is your second Q&A time writing at 100 words per minute. Your proper names are Ms. Sparks, Mary Sparks, Rice Avenue, Social Security, Selma Sparks, Charles, Rice Street, Tyler Street, Greg Moss, Ohio, Cleveland Hopkins Airport, Cleveland, Ohio, Grace Street, and Broad. Ready? Ms. Sparks, can you give me your complete name and address, please?
Mary Sparks, 489 Rice Avenue.
What is your date of birth?
August 30th, 1955.
Could you give me your social security number?
I don't know it offhand.
Do you have a valid driver's license?
No, I do not.
Have you ever had a driver's license?
No, I have not.
At the Rice Avenue address, do you live with anyone there?
I live with my mother at that address.
Okay. What's your mother's name?
Her name is Thelma Sparks.
How long have you lived at that address?
I have lived there approximately for 2 years.
During that 2-year period, has anyone lived with you at that address aside from your mother?
My son.
What's your son's name?
His name is Charles.
How old is he?
He's 16 at the present time.
When did he last live with you at that address?
Approximately 2 years ago.
Do you know where he is now?
Correct. He still resides with my mother.
I'm sorry. Do you reside with your mother currently?
No, I don't live with my mother now.
Where does she reside?
She lives on Rice Street.
Does she reside at a different address?
No, she resides at the same address.
Where do you live now?
I reside on Tyler Street.
Up until 2 years ago, you lived with your mother at Rice Avenue?
Correct. Right.
For the past 2 years, you've lived on Tyler Street?
Right.
Okay, now I understand. Do you live with anyone there?
No, I live by myself. Greg Moss was staying with me. I had a friend residing with me.
How long did he reside there with you?
Since I moved there up until approximately 3 months ago.
Since that time, you've lived alone there?
That is right.
Could you give me a brief idea of your educational background.
Well, I went to high school.
What's the highest grade that you completed?
I went through the 12th.
Did you get a diploma?
Yes, I received a diploma.
What year was that you graduated?
That was in 1974.
Are you employed at the present time?
No, I am not employed now.
When was the last time you were employed?
I was living in Ohio then. That was years ago.
Have you been employed in the last 5 years?
No, I have not.
Do you remember what kind of job you had when you last worked?
Correct. I was working at Cleveland Hopkins Airport.
Is that in Cleveland, Ohio?
Correct.
You were involved in an accident in November of 1994. Is that correct?
That's right.
Could you tell me where this happened?
Yes. The accident happened on Gray Street and Broad.
What time of day did it happen?
It happened about 4:35, something like that.
That's in the afternoon?
Yes, in the afternoon.
Where were you coming from when the accident happened?
I had just